Ceremony is a time-honored tradition. It was established in ceremony to be formal, impressive, and conducted before the assembled command. The restate committee officers, sailors, and personnel of the command, the authority of the command. During today's ceremony, we witness the formal transfer of responsibility, authority, and accountability that hopefully maintain the continuity of command. In keeping with naval tradition, honors will be rendered to the members of the official party. These include signposts, bells, and clapping of horns. We'd like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests here with us today, the Submarine Force Library and Museum Association, the Subbase Command Team, and Thames River Heritage Park. And a very special welcome to the Boyd and Sutton families. Please stand for the arrival of the official party. Post the side boy. Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy, arriving. Nautilus, arriving. in command. Good morning, everybody. It's my terrific honor to be here with you in London, but at the heart of Sutton, here in this community, this space, is truly what Submarine began. Not only built by the Submarine, all of Submarine is Submarine built on which took the fight to the end. But this amazing innovation technology is led the way to a beautiful Submarine. Every station is full, especially one particular where Submarine is on the building Submarine as the name said, set the building on fire, an enemy that wanted to see the Submarine. And we all know what this stuff lasts alive, and absolutely full of Submarine's had. That is our history and that is our heritage. Admiral Rickover didn't talk much about history, but he certainly understood it. He always made us get the lessons learned. I've mentioned the history a few times. One of those times was to say very clearly, history teaches us that we must get the lessons learned. Not only must we get them, we must humbly follow correct the facts, the essence, the events to ensure that we get those lessons learned. Otherwise, we will learn nothing. That culture, even though many of us are engineers, is truly part of this subject. And it's what this museum is all about. Ensuring that we have lessons learned so we don't repeat our mistakes, so we capture that. Over 2 submariners captured those lessons learned when we got back on the boat. Some mistakes were repeated. Also, for submariners, we have nuclear officers that were listed subject. It's that history and heritage that runs through every set of knowledge in silver and gold. That's what the roots of this ceremony and this job is all about. This Submarine Force Library is the flagship of submarine history. Submariners appreciate their history perhaps more than any other branch of service. Many don't know we have a core in every single state in the Union in submarine. Over a third of the privately owned submarines are privately museums or submarines, mostly belong to people. This is the only non-commissioned warship that the Navy maintains. That's how important that history is. We appreciate you being here today to honor as we pass on the charge of this important museum, this ship. Very cool. My first purpose here was to welcome you to Absent. Welcome to all of you who support this ship in the city, in the base, in the association, and the other associations here in New London to support this very important part of history. My second role today is to provide over the ceremony, and much will be said about Brad Boyd today, so I won't spend time doing that. Just to say, Brad has done a terrific job shepherding the museum. We're looking forward to Derek, and we're happy to have some of the family members here celebrating that point. And then my third purpose here is to introduce Captain Retired Pat Burns. The other thing that Rickover said about history was very, very important. He said, good ideas don't happen automatically. They must be driven to practice by courageous impatience. Admiral Rickover demonstrated that courageous impatience to breathe life into a nuclear submarine like this one and many more, which won that Cold War. Submariners have showed that throughout history, from doing their own repairs to torpedoes in World War II to solving every problem we could solve. It is that courageous impatience that the submarine force is all about. It's what the Navy is all about. It's what history is about. Captain Pat Burns, through his courageous impatience, has made a massive difference in the Navy, both in uniform, where he served in Operation Praying Mantis on USS John Strauss, and he saw firsthand he made history in that operation in the Gulf as one of his first assignments in the Navy. He carried the lessons that throughout his naval career. In uniform, as a reservist, he went on to lead our Fleet Week operations in New York, where he brought new meaning to bringing the community together with the Navy to celebrate our ships, our sailors, and our history. And Every year he got the lessons learned, and it got better and better and better to the most tremendous Fleet Week operations that this nation has ever seen. Unfortunately, that culminated at the end of September 11th, where he firsthand saw the fact that if you don't really get the lessons learned, if you don't follow through, history continues to engage, and he watched the Twin Towers come down. He was absolutely instrumental in setting up the command center there in New York, which oversaw those operations. He was the uniform guy on the ground that got it all together and brought all the different agencies together as we responded to 9/11. And he learned those lessons. He still goes out today and teaches those lessons of 9/11. He took his courageous impatience to the Pentagon, to the naval personnel, to N-70, to working for Admiral Harvey, and that led to the 1812 commemoration, which again, with courageous impatience, he achieved incredible things. The first Blue Angel ceremony over Fort McHenry for 1812. Fleet weeks and city shows all over the country, which really highlighted and emphasized the Navy's history and its importance. I can't underestimate what that commemoration was that he was part of. While he was in Fleet Week, he served under the tutelage of great submarine officers like Admiral Paget, Admiral Tracy, and others. So I'd like to say we rubbed off on him a little bit as far as getting the lessons learned and getting that right. Then Pat went on to take over as the deputy at NHHC. And for those of you who don't know, it's his courageous impatience is the reason we're going to overhaul this submarine. So, it's the reason we have a new library and archives. It's the reason our budget is up. It's the reason we're properly manning and taking care of these museums. So, him being here today to honor this is very important. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Pat Burns.
Good morning. I'm not sure anyone can live up to that introduction, but I'm here to introduce Admiral Paget. So good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here today at the historic ship Nautilus change of charge. But before I start, I want to boast a little bit because I'm a proud uncle. And my little nephew just wrote his first history paper. It was about Julius Caesar. And he received a lot of stars and a smiley face. And his paper read, Julius Caesar was a great man. He was a great warrior. Julius Caesar was a great leader. He gave long speeches. They killed him. I will keep my remarks short today. We lived through the great achievements and amazing sacrifices of our times, and we say we will never forget. But time marches on, and we do start to forget. What Commander Boyd has done and Lieutenant Commander Sutton will do is help us remember. We have a moral and ethical obligation to remember and honor the achievements and sacrifices of those who came before us. By doing so, we ourselves learn and grow and continue to move forward. I applaud Commander Boyd for a job well done. I challenge Lieutenant Commander Sutton to keep us moving forward. And I am thrilled Admiral John Paget will be here as President of the Submarine Force Library and Museum Association to support you. I've known Admiral Paget for 25 years as a boss, a mentor, a friend, and a role model. As Dave just mentioned, I was in the Submarine 2 Northeast region employee in New York City on 9/11. I was a first responder on 9/11 in New York. My day was filled with calls and demands. We need air cover. We need the USNS Comfort. Does the Navy have 6,000 body bags? And on and on and on. Admiral Paget was the first phone call I received that day that asked one simple question. Are you all right? His uncanny ability to sympathize and empathize with his sailors his friends, family, and his love of Navy and country will serve the Nautilus community well. Take advantage of his leadership and mentorship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce my dear friend, Admiral John Paget.
Well, good morning. I want to thank everybody for coming out today to pay tribute to a Navy tradition where we observe the exchange of responsibility of important jobs. It's always good to have the local community here. It is most appropriate to have the family of Commander Boyd sitting in the front row. It's good to have all of you here today. I am also very pleased that we have the Thames River Heritage Park represented by their executive director and former president. Having that sort of support from the community is terribly important to the museum, and it will continue to be as we expand the Thames River Heritage Park to include the museum as one of the stops coming up here. I'm always a little concerned when I get introduced because people might really think all of that stuff is true. I recall when I was in Hawaii and my daughter was getting ready to head off to college, she and I were in a large shopping mall and she was buying stuff before she flew back to the mainland to go to school. I was just going along carrying bags and stuff. She stopped to go in one store, and next to the store there was a weight and fortune thing where you put a quarter in and you get your fortune, and it tells your weight. So I did that. I put in the quarter and I got the thing back, and it said, "You demonstrate remarkable leadership, spectacular insight, and there are few challenges that you cannot overcome." I just relieved as the commander of the submarine force in the Pacific, and that was fairly consistent with the way I was feeling about myself that day. My daughter came out and I handed her the note. She looked at it and she said, "You know, Dad, they got your weight wrong too." So you have to keep all those sorts of things in perspective. This museum and the records at the library that are maintained here provide a connection from the past, which stands as a proud statement of what the future can be and should be. The crew that maintains this library and museum and this ship do a remarkable job in ensuring that the lessons of the past are remembered and that the young men and women who will be the future of the submarine force understand what the model is, what the standards are, and where the submarine force has to go. This has been a most unusual year. I was telling Dr. Galbraith the other day that this is the first time I've worn a tie in over a year, and I think this may be the first time I've tucked in my shirt in over a year. And it's been a remarkable thing to have to go through, but Commander Brad Boyd has done a remarkable job of having his team acknowledge the challenge, address the challenge, and then make the best of the opportunities that are available. When the shutdown occurred, we weren't sure if it was going to be a 2-month shutdown, a 6-month shutdown. We just didn't know. But But I don't think anyone really anticipated that the shutdown would be a year long. But it has been. Commander Boyd and his team have taken advantage of the opportunity to improve the museum dramatically during the shutdown period. The augmented reality program that has been put into place will much enhance what visitors to the museum are able to take away and greatly enhance their experience. They've made over 50 videos that can be transmitted out to the public who can't be at the museum, where they've shown what the museum can do, what the submarine looks like. In fact, frankly, you get almost as good a video tour of the submarine as you do if you're on the ship. And that's all an initiative of Commander Boyd and his team. We have implemented the actual Medal of Honor award that Sam Dealey got during World War II. We did a major renovation of the model wall, so as you walk back out, as you depart this morning, you'll be able to see how much that's been improved. But equally important, they've done a great deal of maintenance on the ship to prepare it for a maintenance availability that will be upcoming. And as Captain Adams mentioned, that maintenance availability will then ensure that this historic ship can remain in place, serving our Navy and the public for another 30 years. So if you do the rough math, that means that what we make the investment for in the next months ahead will ensure that this hull remains in place and a model for all of us for almost 100 years. And that will be a remarkable feat. Also, a great deal of work has been done to ensure that we can get a pier put down to allow the aforementioned Thames River Heritage Park to include the Nautilus as a stop. And all those initiatives have been put in place by the team that Commander Boyd leads. There should be a great deal of pride in that hard work, a great deal of pride in the accomplishment that represents, and we certainly do appreciate the leadership that's been demonstrated. That having been said, as Lieutenant Commander Sutton arrives, there's a great challenge ahead. This historic ship will be taken to a dry dock, and it will be given an awful lot of hard work to make sure that everything is just right, so that it can in fact last for another 30 years at least. Lieutenant Commander Sutton is well prepared for that by his prior assignments as an engineer officer and as a squadron engineer, and it will be a real test of his leadership and the hard work of his team as they execute that nuclear availability on this historic ship. I have every confidence that will be executed with the same level of professionalism that he has demonstrated in the past. So although we will certainly miss Commander Boyd and his leadership, we have every confidence that the good hard work that has been started will be continued, and in fact, that the maintenance availability will be completed. I think it's a strong testament of the support that the Naval History and Heritage Command has in this historic ship in this museum by sending up two of its senior people to be here today to strongly state the commitment that the History and Heritage Command has for this museum and for this historic ship, and for that we thank you very much. So in closing, let me just say that I very much appreciate all the hard work that has been done and will be done. The association stands ready to assist as we are able, and we really do want to make sure that this museum and this historic ship remains one of the cornerstones of the Southeastern Connecticut heritage, and I look forward to the coming year, or couple of years, I suspect, with Lieutenant Commander Sutton's leadership. Again, let me close by saying I very much appreciate all of you being here today. I am delighted that the weather seems to have accommodated us, and we thank you very much for coming. Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Burns will now present Commander Boyd with his award. Guests, please rise for the award presentation. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Meritorious Service Medal to Commander Bradley M. Boyd, United States Navy, for service set forth in the following: for outstanding meritorious service while serving as the officer in charge of historic ship Nautilus and Director, Submarine Force Library and Museum from January 2018 to March 2021. Commander Boyd performed his duties in a highly professional manner. Through his initiative and determined leadership, he drove development of the museum ship-specific maintenance standard for historic ship Nautilus, assuring a cost-effective path for Nautilus to be sustained waterborne for another 60 years. His initiative saved the taxpayers more than $90 million by reducing the requisite dry docking maintenance from $120 million to $30 million. Commander Boyd expanded the Submarine Force Museum program substantially by creating a curriculum for future submariners, using the museum to provide training for the Submarine Officer Basic Course and Basic Enlisted Submarine School students. He also led and began to expertly execute a first-ever strategic plan for the museum to meet national accreditation standards for museum excellence. Commander Boyd's exceptional professionalism, personal initiative, and loyal devotion to duty reflected great credit upon him and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Signed for the President, A.S. Pepley. Guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Boyd, Officer in Charge, Historic Ship Nautilus, and Director, Submarine Force Museum.
Good morning. First, thank you goes to all of you here virtually, be it around the corner or around the world. Thank you for your continued interest and support of the museum and finding a way to do so in today's environment. To Derek's family, his wife Jana, sons Parker, Alexander, and Hunter, and his Princess Coraline, welcome to Historic Ship Nautilus and the Submarine Force Museum. Rebel Paget, thank you for speaking today and helping us commemorate the next step in Nautilus' story. I've enjoyed working with you and the rest of the Submarine Force Association Board and members over the years, and I'm excited about the joint venture that the association and the museum will continue to embark on. Captain Moore, Commander Preston, the submarine-based New London Command Team has provided invaluable support to the museum over the years. Commander Preston, for those of you who don't know, was the one I relieved 3 years ago on this stage, well, inside because it was a little colder in January. And I can still echo my thanks at the last change of charge for the fine ship, museum, staff, and crew that you turned over to me. Further thanks are needed for your public affairs team, who always look for ways to help us tell our story and consistently provide amazing support. We could not execute our mission nearly as well without their efforts. Commodore Rossler and Mr. Fry, who could not be in person today, as representatives for your respective teams, I thank you for the support you provided Nautilus and myself. Maintenance of the only historic ship in the Navy is not an easy, and many times not a straightforward problem. Both of your teams have helped us in meeting requirements and pushing through obstacles. I know Nautilus is better now and for the years to come thanks to the efforts of your teams. Ms. Amy Perry, Director of the Thames River Heritage Park, and Dr. Marion Galbraith, former president of the park. Every meeting I have met with either of you, I learn a new story about this area. The park's theme of One River, 1,000 Story is very apt, and I thank you for including the Navy and the submarine force in this opportunity to connect with our area and tie our story to that of this river and this community. For those of you that have been to the museum before, there's one group that I must acknowledge that consistently makes our guests visit memorable and helps put a face to the artifacts, the boat, and the submarine force. Our docents. Due to COVID, our docents have been we've not been open, and our docents have been clamoring to come back. I know that when the museum does open, both the museum and the public will be excited to have the stalwart ambassador to the submarine force, greeting them and helping them understand the people that volunteer to live beneath the sea. Mr. Dave Adams, Jeff Barta, and the rest of the Navy Museum's division team, past and present, Admiral Cox and Pat Burns, the heads of Naval History and Heritage Command, thank you for entrusting me to run this enterprise with little intervention, but more than willing to accept the blame when I have stumbled. I may have pushed that willingness a couple of times, so I apologize now. I never had to call to defend myself, and was able to say I needed help at a moment's notice. It has been an honor to be a part of this mission, and I will miss this tour more than I could say. My fellow museum directors, although COVID impacted our ability to get together one last time, I must thank all of you. To a person, you are more than willing to let me call and ask advice, vent about the latest headquarters tasker, sorry Dave, sorry Pat, and provide me with ideas or sanity checks. You made me feel like I belong. There is no hiding the fact that I am the only active duty museum director in the Navy, and that nothing short of a 3-day crash course in the Navy Museum practices prepared me for this role. Despite this, I was never dismissed, and you actively sought my opinion. This welcoming means more than you know to someone who is clearly the outsider to the group. Derek, I know that the museum side of the house is probably the most alien and foreign thing you have encountered in your career, but your fellow directors will help you. My staff, thank you for taking my museum and archives ignorance in stride. There are degrees in these fields, and I have never taken a single class in my life. Nevertheless, they took me in, trained me up in what I needed to know, and executed my orders as true professionals. Something they have done for the past 35 years, and what I know they will do for Derek, Derek's relief, and all future reliefs to come. My crew. I don't think I'd be exaggerating if I claimed that this was the most unique assignment any crew member here has received in their naval career. The crew before you worked 365 days a year and manned the site 24 hours a day. They work when you sleep. Something most of you probably would think is limited to a ship that goes to sea. Yet they are on their shore tour. They take pride in their work. They take pride in the boat. As Admiral Paget alluded to, Nautilus keel was laid in 1952, which means she is 69 years young today. When she goes to dry dock later this year, she will exit in 2022, certified for another 30 years, which means the next time dry dock is due, the hull will turn 100 years old. This is only possible with the submariners you see before you today, the ones they have relieved, and the ones yet to relieve them. The final submariners stand watch on Nautilus will not be born for years to come. My executive officer, Lieutenant Andrew Mixon, your master of ceremonies today, Lieutenant Corey Jackson, his predecessor, and my chiefs through the years, Chief Petty Officer Churma, Livingston, Pennington, Hauser, Volunis, Teresi, and Senior Chief Drury, have a most unique challenge. They are dual-hatted, if they are lucky, triple-hatted or more, probably. They are tasked with overseeing Nautilus to ensure a preserved, safe, and exemplary environment for the public to come on board and appreciate what it is the submarine force has done from April 11th, 1900 through today and on to tomorrow. I can assure all of you that what they have done and will continue to do under Derek will have a lasting impact for years to come. Thank you for the dedication, the backup, and advice you have provided me, and I task you to continue to provide long after today. My family, my parents, Hank and Marianne Boyd, thank you for your support and love over the years. Thank you for offering the support before criticism. I will concede I definitely need criticism, although maybe not every time I got it. And thank you for making the trip out here. And I know you'll deny it, but I do think the grandkids are the bigger draw. To Elena, Ryan, and Henry, my children, who could not be here today, there is nothing in life that can ground you as fast as your own child. I think Admiral Paget will agree with that. No matter how much I can get done at work, I still fall flat on my face at getting a kid into bed even remotely close on time. I know you're all excited and curious as what challenges lie ahead. I love you, and I am both excited and a little curious, and honestly anxious myself, at the lives you have just begun. My wife Shannon. Late nights, random times I had to come back to the boat, and that's not even including the years I was on a deploying submarine. To say that the family supports the sailor is just scratching the surface. You have dealt with deployments, sudden schedule changes, fighting for services owed our children, explaining to our family that the schedule changed, again, and far more often than not, without anyone to lean on yourself. I am awed on a daily basis, something I know I have never said adequately, and I'm sure I'm failing again now. You rise to every challenge and put yourself before all of us. I wish I had your strength and determination, and continually thankful you choose to keep me in your life. This assignment has been amazing. We get to meet people from around the world. Ambassadors, foreign senior officers, veterans, and even school groups. Kids, by the way, always ask the best questions. And I do mean from around the world. We have hosted visitors from every continent, save one obvious one, and nearly every single U.S. state or territory, to include Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Guam. We hear stories of loved ones lost at sea, including when one of the children of Sam Destroyer Killer Dealey, one of our submarine force heroes of World War II, visited the museum. His son Dave Dealey recounted the story when he was at his father's Medal of Honor ceremony, and the medal was placed around his neck because his father and the rest of the crew of USS Harder did not return home to receive it. Countless stories of heroism, sacrifice, and loss. Stories told with humility. Stories that lend perspective for at least my own fleeting accomplishments. Stories that are told reluctantly and at the pleading request of a loved one who desperately wants their parents, grandparents, siblings, or spouse's story to be heard and remembered. This museum is not just the collection of our submarine forces past, but a monument and memorial to those who served and sacrificed. There are many stories you can learn here, but for every one you discover, there are countless more that could have been told. Other stories are still classified and cannot be recounted, and some are lost to the depths and time. For every ribbon, medal, plaque, or memorial, there is a group, a crew, a family. To say that this tour is humbling does not do the feeling justice. Nothing compares going to a museum, especially one that shows what a ship, and in my thankful case a submarine, means to its crew. When you see an aircraft, tank, or truck, while fundamentally necessary vehicles of warfare for more than a century, they do not have the same meaning to that soldier, airman, marine, or even sailor who operates it as the ship or boat does for a sailor, and especially a submariner. Nautilus is more than the torpedo tubes in her bow or the nuclear propulsion plant she pioneered for the world. She is where 105 sailors stood watch around the clock, conducted maintenance and repairs, slept, ate, did their laundry, and wrote letters home. They attended worship services on board. She was their movie theater and radio station, ice cream parlor, and diner. She was a community. She was a home. It is only through stepping on board the submarine and standing where submariners walked, seeing the beds they slept in and the tables they ate at, that you can get a feel for what they must have gone through to spend months deployed. The mission this command fulfills, the guests I got to meet, and people I had the privilege to work with, both here on site and throughout the Navy Museum and History Enterprise, are the reasons I can say that I will miss this tour. During my turnover period with Derek, I have become certain that he will lead both Nautilus and the museum to even greater successes than that which my staff and crew have achieved already. I am heartened, like my predecessors before me, and I'm sure Derek and his successors after him, that despite my time here coming to an end, it is merely the next chapter in the story. I wish you all the success in the world, Derek, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. Thank you. I shall now read my orders.
Guests, please rise for the reading of the orders.
From Commander, Navy Personnel Command. Subject, Bupper's Orders, 0341. When directed by Reporting Senior, detach from SSN 571 Nautilus to report to Naval War College as a student. Commander Sutton, I'm ready to be relieved.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Commander Derek Sutton, prospective officer in charge of the historic ship Nautilus.
I will now read my orders. From Commander Navy Personnel Command. Subject, Bupper's Order number 3000. When directed by Reporting Senior, report to SSN 571 Nautilus to relieve as officer in charge. Commander Boyd, I am ready to relieve you.
Guests, please be seated. Lieutenant Commander Derek Sutton, officer in charge, historic ship Nautilus, and director, Submarine Force Museum.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, for watching live, or watching this in the future. Your interest in our community and your support for our museum really is incredible. Everything that I've seen so far has been incredible. I'm excited to work with you and for all of you for the next couple of years. Thank you.
Guests, please stand for the departure of the official party. Bosun, post the side, boys. Rear Admiral, United States Navy, retired, departing. Captain, United States Navy, retired, departing. Captain, United States Navy, retired, departing. Commander, United States Navy, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the historic ship Nautilus change of charge ceremony. We thank all of you for attending today, either in person or online. Bosun, dismiss the side boys.